strange brew like Bob and Doug McKenzie. Coming up this weekend at featherweight, we have Alexander the Great Ape Hernandez, bad nickname, going to be taking on Señor Perfecto. It's also a bad nickname. The King of Prussia, out of, you guessed it, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, Bill Algeo. When it comes down to this fight, Matt, I'm bad at picking Bill Algeo fights. I went back through it. We're both not good. You're better than I am, but still neither one of us are good. Matt, I'm 2-5 picking Bill Algeo fights. You're 3-4. And when we look at his matchups, I mean, the 5-1 in are 3-2. You look at the losses. He loses to Ricardo Ramos a long time ago. We both picked him to beat Ramos. Lost Andre Fili by split decision. I had Algeo. You had
in our defense,
Fili.
I feel like I'm oddly good at picking Alexander Hernandez fights, though.
We are good at picking.
See?
We are good at picking Alexander Hernandez fights. Now, for Hernandez, when I say it's a strange brew type of fight, I say, wow, we're poor at picking Algeo fights, but it's a weird mix when you look at it for Hernandez because a couple of fights ago, it was his career featherweight debut. Kind of like a Mendonca Maness that's earlier on in this card. Hernandez takes on Billy Q. Gets finished by Billy Q. Standing TKO loss. So he moves up to 155, and he looks really good striking against Jim Miller. And you're talking about opposite stances, orthodox versus southpaw, and you can make the connection here because Bill Algeo will switch his stances a little bit. I think the UFC might have him actually build as an orthodox fighter, but I switch it to switch stance because he will switch it up. But when you look at this one, Matt, Hernandez, he kind of fights in that, I'm a wrestle boxer. We don't see him wrestle as much, but I'm a wrestle boxer. And when you look at a guy like Bill Algeo, and even in his last fight, it was a wild 2-round fight of the night against TJ Brown. Bill Algeo looked like a ballistics dummy from your favorite show when you were in middle school.
And now, the deadliest warrior.
Yeah, Jeff, Canadian Jeff, that guy got too excited.
That show was so good, though.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Spike probably said, take a couple of Rhino dick pills and just shout at the top of your lungs.
3, 2, 1! Acting like they were really going to war, but they're really just cutting pigs with axes.
Yeah, where did they find those extras, too? Oh, I'm going to show them how I can have my knife skills. My Bowie knife. Look at me. But
imagine dedicating 20 years of your life to learning, like, Middle Eastern fucking sword techniques. It's just a weird thing to dedicate yourself to.
Well, we got to reel this back in, because where I'm pulling this for Bill Algeo, he looked like that against TJ Brown. Bill Algeo fought in a Bobby Green-esque manner, but he was always there to take the facture, as we'd say in French, Matt. The receipt was always provided. Hell, he even stuck around for the debit slip. Because for Algeo, he wasn't able to Anderson Silva himself. His hands were really low, and TJ Brown's right connected every single time. In the second round, you saw it where he's able to get on top, man of crucifix. Brown goes for the reversal. Algeo, 1 foot, 2 foot, locked the feet, and he was able to get that submission in. Brown top. Jason Herzog was there for the smile, if there was a receipt for a smile from TJ Brown. But Bill Algeo is in these fights to where he struggled in the wrestling against Ricardo Ramos, going back on the rewatch for Ramos' fight against Jordan there. The fight against Anderson Brito, though, he was able to rally. The fight against Herbert Burns, he was able to time out in the first round, really rally in the second. That was a performance bonus. Algeo, I can tell you all of these different things, and Hernandez, I can point to the fight of the night where he loses against Donald Cerrone, or the performance bonus short notice debut against top-ranked Beneil Dariush. I just don't understand why Hernandez is going back down 145 for this one.
It is a big question mark surrounding this whole entire fight because he has looked good at 155, especially as of late. He's not a small guy in the weight class, right? Like when he fights at 155, I know Cowboy is bigger than him frame-wise, but Cowboy fought at 170, so that's to be expected. But for Hernandez, we have seen some of those not only durability issues at 145, but the
in one fight.
In one fight, but we've seen those issues at 155 as well. When he gets cracked clean, he can go on baby deer legs. But for Hernandez, he is one of those fighters in a new term that you want us to coin, known as the Christos Yagos theory. He's someone who can have so much success that it takes him into exhaustion, and then he becomes a much lesser fighter than he normally is. Because when he does wrestle, that can make him just that much more tired. And the best version of Hernandez is the one that almost fights opposite to how you imagine he fights. When he's on the outside using his footwork, he normally can have a lot of success, and he does do a good job with his lateral movement, being quite evasive with some of his shots. But every now and then, he'll get that Cody Garbrandt in him where he sees red and he wants to make it a bit of a brawl. And I do think we have a large enough sample size to know that, hey, Hernandez might not have a terrible chin. He doesn't have a great one, though, either. And if he does get into some of those longer exchanges, he has been hit and dropped enough to where you do worry. And I know Bill Algeo's not the biggest puncher, right? Like, if he hits you with a clean shot, he can hurt you. But if Hernandez does find himself tiring due to the amount of success he might be having earlier on in this matchup, he might almost just have so much success he falls off a cliff in, like, the old school Lemming style, you know?
Yeah, I mean, both guys kind of over-exceeded expectations in the debut. One guy got a crazy performance of the night, bonus knockout win. The other guy, even in a loss, though, was a fight of the night against a former title challenger in Ricardo Lamas for Bill Algeo. And again, it's a lot more odd angle, but they're more at a straight shot than you do have from a guy like Hernandez. And Hernandez is a different type of fighter because sometimes you see him work behind the jab. It's almost like the professional wrestling type of jab where you're punching the mat to make the sound effect. But if you do look at it for Hernandez, big on the jab, he will whip that right as an overhand out there, and he's able to have a ton of success. You look at the odds in this one, Algeo slight favorite, the older man, the taller man, but not at a giant reach advantage. We have a look at the fan vote over on Topology to see what the fans are thinking. They haven't been out there this week. They haven't been Space Cadets, so I'm going to say over under 67.5% Bill Algeo.
Under. Well under.
Under. And it's over 1,059 total votes, 70% Algeo, 69% by decision for the 30% that have Hernandez, 65% by decision. I don't think we're going to go to a decision this one, actually. I think one of these guys is going to get a finish.
Which one?
Bill Algeo.
I have a hard time with this fight because I think Alexander Hernandez could take him down and have a decent amount of success with this wrestling. The problem is, how long can he sustain that kind of a game plan? Because if he does wrestle for 10 minutes and then has nothing left for those last 5, then I agree with you. Bill Algeo could easily take over as this fight goes down the stretch and score himself a TKO win. But on the flip side, I do think Hernandez is going to be able to do a good enough job of moving his feet to get on the inside in at least some of the exchanges. And if that is the case, I think he could land his own power shots and then go for his own takedowns. I do have Bill Algeo in the matchup, but I do think Hernandez has enough in his game to have success in the matchup, be it with his wrestling and his physicality.
Now, when I really go out on a limb and I say I think this guy can finish, I usually get it wrong. And I'm also 2-5 in picking Bill Algeo fights, and I'm picking Bill Algeo to win. So heed that warning, and that is a warning out there. Let us know who we have in this matchup. Some big-time fights in this card, Matt. The next one on the list, we have Philipe Lins taking on Iwan Cutelaba. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.